You say you want success. But are you willing to be consistent? Not just today when you're feeling inspired, not just tomorrow when it still feels new, but every single day. Even when progress is invisible, even when you feel ignored, even when the path ahead seems to mock your effort. Let me share a truth the world rarely speaks aloud. Success is not the reward of the most talented, nor the strongest, nor even the most intelligent. It is the inheritance of the most consistent. Consistency is the invisible foundation beneath every enduring achievement. It is the soil where mastery takes root. Everything shifts when it's the quiet, stubborn heartbeat of all greatness. You see a man rise to riches and ask how he got there. You see a woman speak with command and ask how she became that way. You witness a leader calm in chaos and wonder how they built that strength. You think it's magic, or destiny, or maybe luck. But I will tell you plainly, they trained themselves to show up when others quit. They repeated their disciplines when no one else saw the value. They became consistent, not because it was easy, but because it was essential. You have been conditioned to look for breakthroughs, to chase the flash of brilliance, to wait for your big moment. But let me cut through the fantasy and deliver the fact: success does not come in a moment. It is built in 1,000 quiet, when you stop, uncelebrated hours. It is built when you show up and no one claps. It is built when you do the work and no one sees. It is built when you do the right thing. Again, when you stop, and again, until it becomes who you are. You don't write a great book in one sitting. You don't build a powerful body in 1 week. You don't create mastery from motivation. You create it by doing the same thing better, longer, and with more discipline than most are willing to tolerate. You create it through rhythm, through action, through a relationship with repetition. Look around you. The sun rises without permission. The tides return without delay. The heart beats without applause. The seasons change without drama. Nature operates on rhythm, not emotion. It does not ask if it feels like rising. It does not require external approval to return. But man waits. Man starts strong and stops early. Man begins with passion and ends with excuses. He believes that because he felt like it once, he will succeed. He trusts emotion more than discipline. That's why most remain average. That's why most live in cycles of starting and stopping, because they never honor the law of rhythm. They never stay long enough to transform effort into mastery. Let me speak to your mind, the part of you that craves transformation. You must understand this: each time you show up and follow through, you are rewriting your self-image. You are teaching your subconscious that you are a finisher, a builder, a doer, not just a dreamer. You are not doing the task. You are becoming the person. Every time you act in discipline, you train your nervous system. You send a message to your subconscious. This is who I am. And after enough repetition, that message becomes law. Your habits become instinct. Your standards become identity. And your actions become automatic. Most people wait for motivation to arrive before they act. But they've got it backward. Action births motivation. Motion generates emotion. You cannot wait for your feelings to change before you move. You must move and your feelings will follow. This is how you build momentum. This is how you build inner power. But understand this: there is a voice inside you that will resist. That voice will speak softly, but persistently. Everything's when you stop. You've done enough for today. You can skip this one. You'll start again next week. You need rest. You need comfort. You need time. That voice is not your friend. That voice is fear dressed in comfort. That voice is mediocrity disguised as logic. That voice is the enemy of consistency. Because if it can break your rhythm today, it can break your future tomorrow. If it can plant hesitation, it can delay destiny. If it can convince you to stop, even for one day, it can destroy the momentum you've worked to build. That voice does not speak from truth. It speaks from emotion. And success does not come to those who obey emotion. Success comes to those who obey commitment. Do not ask, "Do I feel like it?" Ask, when you stop, "Did I promise myself this?" Because once you decide that your word is law, your mind will begin to serve you instead of sabotage you. Your emotions will align with your commitment. The secret of the few who rise is simply, they make consistency a non-negotiable. They act in alignment with their goal. When you stop, not in reaction to their feelings. They do it when it's boring. They do it when it's uncomfortable. They do it when there's no visible reward. Because they understand that who you become through consistency is more valuable than what you get from a single effort. So I will challenge you now. Choose one thing, one small action, one habit, one behavior. Make it daily. Make it sacred. One page, read 10 minutes, do 10 push-ups, save $5, meditate for 5 breaths. Learn one new word. Speak to one new person. It doesn't matter how small. It matters that you do it every day, without fail. Not when it's convenient, not when you stop, when you're in the mood. Every day, because you said you would. And here's what will happen. At first, your mind will resist. It will fight. It will throw excuses at you like bricks. But after 7 days, then 10 days, then 20, you'll begin to feel something different. Not excitement. Nothing shifts when motivation. You'll feel certainty, a quiet knowing, a calm internal authority, a whisper that says, I am incapable, I am in control, I follow through. And in a world full of people starting over, that alone will put you in the top 1%. When you stop, because repetition creates belief, and belief fuels action, and action sustains identity, and identity changes everything. Let go of the illusion that you need to be perfect. You don't need to do everything. You need to do one thing. Well, consistently, without excuse. You will not always feel powerful, but you can always be consistent. And in the end, that is where power comes from. Consistency is the proof that you meant what you said. Consists when you stop. Consistency is the action that turns faith into fact. Consistency is the bridge between who you are and who you are becoming. So start now, today. And don't break the chain. Don't break the rhythm. Don't betray the version of you who made the decision. Because every day you follow through, you are casting a vote for your future self. And one day, when the world finally sees what you've built, they will call it overnight success. But you'll know, it was born from every quiet, disciplined, consistent day they never saw. The enemy is not out there. It is not the economy. It is not your upbringing. It is not your competition. The true enemy is much closer. It lives inside your own mind. It speaks in your own voice. It wears the face of hesitation, of procrastination, of emotional weakness. It tells you to rest when you must rise. It tells you to start over when you must follow through. It tells you the lie that you can do it tomorrow. But tomorrow never arrives for those who listen to fear. Consistency, therefore, is not a battle against the world. It is a battle within. It is the test of will over impulse, decision over emotion, commitment over comfort, and most fail, not because they are incapable, but because they never truly understood what they were up against. They prepared for resistance from others, but they did not prepare for resistance from themselves. So let us expose this internal war. Let us name it, let us confront it, and above all, let us win it when you begin any worthwhile journey, whether it is to build wealth. Everything shifts a craft or a craft. Develop, grow your mind. You will hear that whisper. Is this really worth it? Does it even matter? You can try again later. You've already done enough. These are not innocent thoughts. They are the seeds of stagnation. They are the virus of the average mind. And unless you rise with strength, daily, not occasionally, they will spread. Understand this deeply. Your mind will always choose comfort until it is retrained to choose growth. And growth never feels good at first. Growth requires pain. It demands discomfort. It thrives in the zone where most people give up. That is why consistency is so rare, because it is built through resistance. It is built by refusing the easy choice over and over again. It is forged in silence, without applause, in the dim hours when no one is watching. But oh, what it gives you in returning power. Self-trust, control, pride, purpose. Most people look for tricks, tactics, shortcuts. They want to know how to get more done, how to succeed faster, how to make it easier. But the man who lives by principle does not ask, how easy is this? He asks, how necessary is this? And if the answer is necessary, then it must be done. No negotiation, no delay, no debate. This is the way of the few, the uncommon, the disciplined. They do not need perfect conditions. They do not wait for the mood to strike. They do not start over every week. They simply do the work. Every day, every time, regardless of how they feel. You see, feelings are like weather. They shift, they pass. They cannot be trusted. But principle, that is eternal. Everything principle does not waver. And the principle you must adopt now is this: I do what I said I would do, always, no matter what. That one idea will change your life more than 1,000 strategies, because most people are prisoners of their moods. But the consistent man is free. Free to act, free to rise, free to move even when nothing else makes sense. Freedom does not come from ease. It comes from discipline. And discipline, once internalized, becomes your greatest ally. Let me show you how this works in the real world. A man wakes up tired. His body tells him to rest. His feelings whisper, "Sleep in." But he remembers who he is. He remembers the standard he set. He does not act on how he feels. He acts on what he decided. And so he rises. He does the work. He wins a silent battle that no one will ever applaud. And he walks taller for the rest of the day. Not because someone congratulated him, but because he knows he honored his own command. This is the secret pride of the consistent man. He doesn't need approval. He doesn't seek recognition. Healing shifts. He doesn't beg for motivation. He walks with quiet fire because he keeps promises to himself. And when you do that enough, when you keep your word day after day, you begin to trust yourself. And self-trust is power. Because most people don't trust themselves. They say one thing and do another. They plan goals and abandon them. They make promises and break them in secret. And they wonder why their confidence is gone. Why you stop? Why they hesitate? Why they doubt? Why they're afraid to take big steps? It's because their inner voice doesn't believe them anymore. When you stop, they've trained themselves to expect inconsistency. But you will be different. You will become someone your mind can trust. When you stop, because when you say you will act, you will act. When you set a goal, you will pursue it daily, not occasionally. And when you decide to build something, you will not stop until it is done. That is what separates the achievers from the excuse makers. The ones who rise from the ones who restart. Consistency is not some fluffy ideal. It is a weapon, a tool, a discipline that reshapes your entire nervous system. It's not just about success. It's about becoming whole. The scattered mind becomes focused. The broken self-image becomes powerful. The anxious heart becomes steady. When you stop, not through therapy, not through theory, through daily, repeated, deliberate action. If you feel behind in life, be consistent. If you feel overwhelmed, be consistent. If you feel uncertain about the future, be consistent. Because consistency gives you clarity. It gives you proof that you are not lost. You are on a path. Everything you stop, you may not be where you want to be. But if you are showing up, you are getting closer every day. Now listen to me carefully. The world will not reward you for what you planned. It will reward you for what you finished. The world does not remember those who started. It remembers those who stayed. And you, if you wish to be remembered, if you wish to be respected, if you wish to become a leader in any domain of life, must develop the discipline of daily completion. Even small stop, even specially small tasks. You do not build a fortress overnight. You lay one brick at a time. And those bricks, placed with consistency, become a wall no force can break. That is how empires are built. That is how legacies are written. And that is how your life will rise from average to exceptional. Not all at once, but bit by bit, hour by hour, page by page, step by step, one consistent act at a time. Stop. So I ask you today, can you win the war within? Can you wake up and move when your body wants to quit? Can you take action without a cheering crowd? Can you persist when results are invisible? If the answer is yes, then your future is guaranteed, because consistency makes all things possible. Everything shifts when you stop. You've been consistent for a week, maybe 2, maybe a month. You've done the thing. You've followed through. You've shown up. When you stop, but still nothing seems to be happening. No breakthrough, no applause, no instant transformation. And so the question creeps in, is it even working? This is where most people quit, not because the path failed, but because they misunderstood the nature of the work. You were not promised immediate results. You were promised inevitable ones, but only if you endure. Let me explain something very few will ever tell you. Everything shifts when you stop. Your results are not delayed because you're failing. They're delayed because your old identity is still dying, and it must die slowly, painfully, repetitively. Why? Because the transformation you seek is not external. It is internal. You are not just changing what you do. You are changing who you are. That does not happen with one decision. It happens through consistent effort, applied long after the excitement fades. You are burning off the old self, layer by layer, the self that broke promises, the self that quit early, the self that only worked when it was easy, the self that feared failure and avoided responsibility. That version of you must be destroyed, and you don't kill it in one strike. You kill it daily. With every disciplined act you repeat in silence. This is the sacred part of consistency. It is not just a tool for success. It is a ritual of death and rebirth. Each time you rise when you don't want top, each time you train when results are invisible, each time you speak truth instead of excused, you bury the old self a little deeper. When each top, and each time the new self grows stronger, you may not see the change right away, but you will feel it. You will begin to notice how your inner voice changes. Friend, you can't. I can't. To I must. From not today to I don't miss days. From I'm not ready to I'm becoming ready by doing it. That is what this journey is really about. It's not about the trophy, not about the status, not about the outcome. It's about identity. It's about becoming the type of person who doesn't need results in order to keep going. That is true power, because most people are trapped in a childish mind setting. If I think shifts when if I don't see results, I'll stop. But the man who masters himself says, I'll continue whether I see them or not, because I trust what I'm building. Understand this, the early stages of consistency are not about winning. They are about proving to your mind that this time is different. You're not dabbling. You're not playing. You're not sampling the path. You're walking it. And once your subconscious mind believes that everything changes, you no longer need reminders. You no longer need discipline as a weapon. It becomes your nature. When you stop, your default setting, and that's when the results arrive. Not because you chased them, but because you built the kind of person who attracts them. Shifts when you stop. That is the hidden reward of consistency. It doesn't just get you results. It makes you worthy of them. So don't fall into the trap of needing to. See something every day. Sometimes your only evidence of progress is the fact that you didn't break the chain. Everything shifts when you stop, that you didn't quit, that you kept the promise, that you did the thing. That is the result. Let me tell you something few will understand. Your results will often show up long after your discipline is tested. They arrive after you've already proven you can live without them. Why? When you stop. Because you needed to grow into the person who could handle those results. You don't get a stronger body because you lift one time. Shifts when you stop. You don't get a business you posted one video or made one call. You don't get peace of mind from meditating once. You get it from showing up again and again, even when your external world gives you no feedback. You show up because that's who you are now. Things shifts when you stop. That is what separates those who succeed from those who merely try. Most people give up right before the shift. They demand proof that it's working. But the universe doesn't give confirmation to the uncommitted. It only rewards those who keep going with no sign at all. That's the test. Will you persist when there's nothing to gain, except the quiet knowing that you did what you said you would? Because that knowing over time becomes your greatest asset. That's what builds confidence. Not likes, not praise, not income, but repetition. Every time you choose consistency over comfort, you teach your minding, I am in charge. And one day, something wild happens. You wake up and realize you don't need to force yourself anymore. You're doing it naturally. You're not debating the action, you're just doing it because it's who you've become. That's the true goal. Not to fight yourself forever, but to train your mind to obey your decision. Automatically, that's what consistency does. It retrains the machine of your mind. It removes emotion from the equation. It turns effort into instinct, and instinct into power. Let's get brutally honest. You've already lived enough days where you said you would do something, and didn't. You've already collected enough. Day ones, that ended in maybe tomorrows. And what did it give you? Regret, hesitation, weakness. You don't need another start. You need to continue. You need to keep going through the silence, through the doubt, through the fog, because all the reward is hidden on the other side of that fog, and only the consistent will see it. The average person lives a life of interruptions. They start and stop. They try and retreat. They build and abandon. But the extraordinary, the few who leave a mark, they keep going through the invisible season, that long stretch where no one claps. No one notices. Everything shifts when nothing is on the outside, but everything is changing within. So here's your charging. Everything shifts when you stop. If you feel like quitting, if the work seems pointless, if the results feel too far away, keep going. Show up anyway. Act like the person you're becoming, not the person you've been. Because the work you do today, this silent, thankless work, is not wasted. It is invested. And one day, when the results finally arrive, you won't be surprised. You'll be ready, because you'll already know, I earned this. I built this. I became this. And no one will be able to take it from you, because consistency made it real. If you truly understood the power of consistency, you would treat every small act as sacred. You would walk into each repetition not as a chore, but as a ceremony. You would no longer ask, "Does this matter?" You would declare, "This builds me," because it does. Every action you repeat, you become. Not just the grand, dramatic gestures, but the ordinary ones, the ones no one sees, the ones no one claps for. That's where the real transformation happens. Most people don't understand this. They're addicted beginnings, obsessed with starting again, infatuated with novelty. They chase emotions, they depend on energy, and so they live on a loop, start, stop, hope, doubt, plan, abandon. They live in the exhausting cycle of almost disciplined, almost successful, almost committed. But if you wish to rise, you must step out of that pattern. You must break the cycle of rebirth without growth. You must stop starting over and start finishing. Pivots when you stop. This is the pivot ache. You must begin to act like the person you've already decided to become. Not one day, not next year. Now, every moment of hesitation is a betrayal of your future self, and every act of discipline is an investment in that self. You don't become confident by waiting to feel ready. You become confident by acting before you feel prepared, and proving to yourself that you can handle more than your emotions believe. This is the test of character. Can you walk like you're already the person you've chosen to become? Can you move, speak, behave, perform? Not based on who you've been when you stop, but based on who you are becoming. You must learn to act from vision, not memory. Your memory will remind you of every past failure. Your memory will pull you back into the identity you're trying to escape. But your vision, that's the lifeline. Your vision is the blueprint of the new self. It's the fire you must protect at all costs, because it will be tested. You will have days where you feel small, where the work feels too much, where your emotions scream louder than your commitment. But it is in those moments that the real identity is forged. You must walk into those days with the words, "When you stop, I do it anyway." You're tired, do it anyway. You're bored, do it anyway. You're uncertain, do it anyway. You don't feel like it, that's why you do it. Because the new version of you, the future version of you, is watching, and every decision you make is either feeding that self or starving it. Every time you give into weakness, that version shrinks. Every time you push through, it expands. It grows. It sharpens. It begins to move from possibility to reality. That is the discipline. Not to do what's easy, not to do what's exciting, but to do what is aligned.